Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with historythroughcards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the signing of Larry Doby, and I think it's really interesting. This is a 1951 Bowman Larry Doby. I'll show you the back of it, and it looks something like this. It is card number 151 if you're looking to add this to your collection. Well, it is a fantastic card. It's on a lot of collectors' want lists. And I do have a 1952 Bowman floating around somewhere. I could not find it for the life of me. I know it's around. I saw it a couple of weeks ago. I just don't know where I put it. But I am showing you this today, and I'll show you a few other cards as we go along too. I really wanted his 1949 Bowman, and I had a couple of opportunities, but that card is really, really expensive because it's in the high numbers series, and it is a fantastic card. I'm never gonna say I'll never be able to get that card. Never say never when it comes to card collecting, because you never know what's going to appear, and it's a lot of it times. It's about the right time at the right place, or the right price, and with a little bit of hard work and luck and determination, you can build a really fantastic collection that you can be proud of. And I'm always around to help you guys whenever I can. If you ever have any questions, I'm always available to answer anything that you may have. So today, I thought I would go over Larry Doby's early career and how he got signed. And I found two really interesting articles from 1947. And the funny thing about Larry Doby is I think throughout his career he really was overshadowed by Jackie Robinson, and Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby got along very well. They both kind of complemented each other over the years, and Larry Doby said that Jackie Robinson really was instrumental in helping him as a ball player, but he wasn't the only person either. And just like Jackie Robinson had Pee Wee Reese to help him throughout his career, Larry Doby had Flash Gordon. And Flash Gordon, he just got in the Hall of Fame a few years ago, the Yankees' second baseman. And Larry Doby said that when he first came up to the major leagues, he really felt very alone. He walked into the clubhouse and almost nobody shook his hand. Maybe a few players did, but he said it was very embarrassing. They just didn't want have it to have anything to do with him. And then Flash Gordon said, "You know what? Here's a glove. You can practice with me." And that's what happened. And he said that because Flash Gordon was an all-star second baseman and now he's in the Hall of Fame, he was, I think, the 1938 American League MVP as well. And so he had a lot of clout behind him. And he said once he helped out Larry Doby, then all the other players fell in line. And Larry Doby also credited Tris Speaker with helping him as well. And that a lot of people say Tris Speaker was racist. And if that was really the case, Tris Speaker would never have taught Larry Doby or mentored him the way he did. And so Larry Doby, said he credited Tris Speaker with his baseball career, and he also credited, which is I think is kind of funny too, a few other players that were foes of his. Joe DiMaggio was one of them. Ted Williams was another. And the reason why he mentioned Ted Williams is because during Ted Williams' induction speech in 1966, he advocated for Negro League ball players to be included in the Hall of Fame, which was the right thing to do. But he also mentioned Mickey Vernon. Mickey Vernon and Larry Doby were on the same team in the Navy. So Mickey Vernon ended up wiring or writing to his boss, who would have been Clark Griffith, and he said that we have a ball player here, a black ball player that you need to sign ASAP, and his name is Larry Doby. It unfortunately didn't happen, but I'm kind of reminded too of this story where back in 1938, the Washington Senators, who Mickey Vernon had played for through most of his career, I think Mickey Vernon came up in about 1939, so this is right before Vernon came up, and he's another guy who should be in the Hall of Fame. However, I get a little sidetracked here with this stuff, but the Washington Senators were thinking about trying to add or sign a contract for Josh Gibson. So this didn't actually occur. And when asked later on about it, Clark Griffith said, we would have loved to have added Josh Gibson to our team. However, it wasn't the right time, and it wasn't necessarily the um, Major League Baseball. Obviously, they didn't have rules for this back then. It was a quote unquote gentleman's agreement. However, the feeling was the fans were a big problem here, and it was one of the reasons why they never added Josh Gibson. There is actually a really good story about this in an SABR article, and so at the time, you could kind of tell in the late 1930s there was a shift in public perception, and at this time, you did have, say, Forbes Field and a few other major league ballparks being rented out to Negro League teams because those teams were actually making a ton of money, and so you had the Washington Homestead Grays. They ended up renting out Griffith Stadium, where the Pirates played. That stadium was also rented out as well, and I think maybe Yankee Stadium as well. The New York Black Yankees, I think they played there. So you had Negro League ball clubs playing in Major League stadiums in at least the 1940s. Now, um, Jackie Robinson, when he was signed by Branch Rickey, uh, he wasn't Ricky's first choice, and that happened to have been Silvio Garcia, and he was a very dark-skinned Cuban League ball player, very, very talented ball player, very good ball player, and I think he's in the Cuban Baseball Hall of Fame. However, when he had an interview with Branch Rickey, Rickey had asked him a couple of questions to see his responses would be towards other ball players, and he asked him, if someone got you angry, what would you do? And he said, I kill them. So there we go. He was cut. He was looking again for other ball players, and he settled on I think three that he wanted. And Monty Irvin said that he wasn't ready. He just got out of the service, and then I think there's a few others, and Jackie Robinson was right at the top of his list. Now, I don't exactly know what the equivalent was in the American League at the time. I think maybe um, I've heard that there was a tryout for the Red Sox in 1945, a very famous tryout, in fact. But again, Jackie Robinson was a part of that tryout, and then a guy named Marvin Hitter Williams and Monty Irvin, and none of them made the team. And what's kind of funny about this, not funny, haha, but funny, ridiculous, is that had any one of those guys been signed to the Red Sox, I think you'd be looking at maybe two or three pennants. Definitely in 1948 and maybe 1949, and again 51 or 52. Um, that team probably could have been stacked with some really decent ball players from the Negro Leagues. And again, Monty Irvin had a near 400 lifetime batting average playing for the Newark Eagles. Uh, when I did a little bit of homework on Larry Doby, I looked specifically at his 1942 roster when he was on the 1942 Newark Eagles. He was actually signed at age 17 by an umpire, or he was referred to by an umpire to Effa Manley, and she is in the Hall of Fame. She doesn't have any cards that I'm aware of. Uh, Photographs, yes, but she actually very interesting. I've heard a couple of stories from Monty Irvin about her, which I'm not going to repeat here. I think there's actually going to be a movie on Monty Irvin, and he's one of my favorite ball players and favorite human beings, in fact. I really enjoyed my time talking to Monty Irvin over the years, and I kind of wish he was still here. But anyway, I never got to meet Larry Doby, and it's too bad because I would have loved to have just sit down and have a cup of coffee with the guy. So while he was on the 1942 Newark Eagles, you had really five other players who ended up in the Hall of Fame, and those are Willie Wells, Ray Dandridge, Leon Day, Mule Suttles, and Monty Irvin. That's monstrous. That's that's huge. I can't imagine being a fly on the wall to see those guys play. I mean that would have been like absolutely that'd be like the Yankees, honestly. So after I'm done with these articles, I'm gonna come back and tell you a little bit more about Larry Doby's time on the Indians, which I think is again really interesting, and you'll have to stick around for that. This is from the Paterson Evening News, Paterson, New Jersey, July 5th, 1947. Sportograms by Joe Goodier. Larry will be making the big jump, but he can make it. When Larry Doby joins the Cleveland Indians today, he will be facing a tougher assignment than confronted Jackie Robinson, first Negro to don a modern major league uniform. For the Paterson ball player, he will be making the jump directly to the big leagues instead of first acquiring some seasoning in the minors. The Indians have no extensive farm club system. They have Baltimore as an outlet, but it's hardly the sort of territory to make a colored player feel at home. But obviously, Cleveland officials are confident that Doby can make the grade even without a preliminary stop with a farm club, which was extremely helpful to Robinson, who came up with Montreal before he went to the parent Brooklyn Dodgers. Indians chief Bill Veeck and manager Lou Boudreau expressed the opinion that Larry can be helpful to the team this season. The odds are he can. Doby is a really great ball player with fine poise, the ability to hit the long ball, flashy fielding, and an all around baseball instinct, which set him up as another Robinson. He demonstrated long ago that he had the makings. As the first newspaperman to predict Major League stardom for Johnny Vandermeer and Eddie Mayo when they were still playing on local fields, I know my similar finger point at Doby will be justified. After the Indians officials had announced from Cleveland Wednesday night that they had purchased Larry from the New York Eagles of the Negro National League, the Paterson Star was informed of the glad tidings when he arrived at the New York club's offices. Although he had been approached by a Cleveland scout a week ago, he had not expected action to be taken so fast. Of course, he was overjoyed to learn that he was being given a shot at organized baseball in the hopes that such an opportunity would be given him. he passed up chances to play baseball in Mexico and Cuba this year. It turned out to be a wise decision. Larry told me before leaving that he knows that he has a great deal to learn, but that he will be trying every minute, keep his eyes open and concentrating on the job to be done. Fine team man who is always out there giving his best. Doby will rate A for effort. You can bank on that. His even temperament, good character, and natural ability will be his principal advantages in Larry's favor as he bids for a berth under the big top. Other factors which will help him are: 1. He will have two fine bosses in Cleveland president Veeck and manager Boudreau, and 2. The pressure will be eased for him somewhat by Jackie Robinson's clique, which demonstrated that Negro ball players can make the major league grade. Of course, Doby still will be subjected to considerable pressure. After all, he'll be the first member of his race in the American League, and so will encounter plenty of animosity among the players. But like Robinson, he is blessed with the ability to shake off prejudice-born jockeying. An insight into how deep this feeling goes and measure of its importance was provided once when we were discussing a colored player who stepped out of minor league baseball after being given the chance by Brooklyn. I asked Larry if he knew the reason. Yes, he answered quietly. He couldn't take that word. I didn't ask him what the word was. Interesting note on Doby. He started playing semi-pro ball in town where he was only 11 years old. That was when he was brought up to the Smart Sets, Patterson's team of colored stars piloted by Pat Wilson. The squad produced three players who subsequently became key men of the Newark Eagles of the Negro National League: Doby, Len Pearson, and Monty Irvin. The last name is most likely to be the next Negro ball player to move into organized baseball. Larry played for the Smart Sets for 4 years, also performing for the East Side High varsity at that time and starring in football, basketball, and track at that school too. The local team was in operation for 12 years, but disbanded when war broke out. Al Sargent, one of the city's standout players years ago, was coach, and Spook Smith, another of the stars on the club. Doby was always a conscientious player, practicing hard and showing steady improvement. He played first base, second, and shortstop, looked good at all of the positions, and was a big factor in the Smart Set City's title win here in 1940. A left-handed hitter, he drove out a spectacular clout at Hinchcliffe Stadium when he blasted the ball over the chimney and back of the right field wall. Doby was signed by the Newark Eagles after the Manleys, who owned the club, saw him play with the Smart Sets. It was a far cry from the day when he broke in with the Patterson team as a raw youngster at East Side Park. In his first time up, he struck out. This is from the New York Daily News, July 4th, 1947. Cleveland buys Larry Doby, first Negro in American League. The Indians today announced the signing of infielder Larry Doby, hard-hitting Negro from the Newark Eagles of the Negro National League. Doby is the second Negro in history to be brought up by a major league team, following first baseman Jackie Robinson, who joined the Dodgers this year. Manager Lou Boudreau, in announcing the purchase, said, quote, "In my mind, this is a routine purchase," unquote. Doby, 22, is leading his league in home runs with 13 and in doubles with 16. He also has slugged 8 triples and has a season batting average of .458. Doby probably will be playing first base with the Indians when he joins the team Saturday at the close of the first half of the Negro League season. The slugging infielder was bought for an undisclosed amount of cash by the Indians' president-breaking president, Bill Veeck. Doby is 6 foot 1 inch tall and weighs 185. bats left, and throws right-handed. Quote, I am operating under the belief that the war advanced us in regard to racial tolerance, Veeck said. I probably will catch hell for a while, but it is my hope it will work out. It's a natural thing to do, Ricky. Ranch Ricky, president of the Dodgers, declared yesterday that he was not surprised at the signing of Negro Larry Doby by the Indians and added that he considered Bill Veeck a forthright and progressive baseball man. Ricky broke modern baseball precedent when he signed Jackie Robinson last year and brought him up to the Dodgers from Montreal this spring. Robinson, regular first baseman, is the first Negro in the big leagues. It was the natural thing to do, said Ricky, when informed of the Indians' action under the presidency of Veeck. Now, Bill Veeck was a showman; everybody knew it, and one has to wonder if he signed Larry Doby for the purposes of that. And so it is a legitimate question. I'm sure at the time when Larry Doby was signed, if he was serious about this, and well, he was serious because he did sign him. However, there's been a lot of stories over the past, I don't know, 30, 40 plus years that Bill Veeck wanted to buy the Philadelphia Phillies, who were cash strapped in 1943, and he wanted to buy that team to stock it with, I think, the remnants of the Detroit Stars, the Negro Leaguers. And so that story has been around for at least 30, 40 plus years. And I don't think that there's any truth to that story. That's something that Bill Veeck had actually, a lot of people say, just kind of made up, probably not out of whole cloth. It looks like he actually did have maybe a meeting or two on the subject, but at the time that really didn't nothing occurred there, and the Phillies ended up being bought by William Cox or Bill Cox, and he actually he was banned from baseball for betting on his team, and he actually has a different story here, but it's kind of interesting that you have two owners of the Phillies be banned from baseball. It's just really kind of interesting to see what would have happened had Bill Veeck actually bought the Phillies. Would Larry Doby actually have gone up to the major leagues? Who knows? Who knows? And if he did, um, would he have actually signed with the Phillies, or would he be signed with the Washington Senators at the time? That would have been interesting too. And then if that uh, either incidents occurred, would he actually have gotten in the Hall of Fame in 1998? Again, these are all speculative issues here, but what isn't speculative is that Larry Doby had an amazing career. So, just to go over this a little bit, once he got out of the Navy, he ends up on the Indians, and he said, just how lonely the Indians were, and how lonely he felt until Flash Gordon came by and helped him out. And then he also said too that Lou Brissy was a big influence as well. And Lou Brissy was a pitcher on the Philadelphia Athletics, and he would actually help him out, give him a glove, and just be very kind to uh, Larry Doby, because Lou Brissy, he knew what it was like to be kind of like an outsider, if you will. And what he meant by that was that during World War II, Lou Brissy, I think he was a lieutenant in the army over in France, and a shell shattered his leg, and he spent a lot of time recuperating, and I think he almost lost his leg, but he kind of felt like an outsider after World War II, and it took him a long time. So he knew just kind of like how Larry Doby would have felt in a way. Just there were a lot of major leaguers who did serve in World War II, but a lot of those guys were actually on service teams playing baseball. It was usually your minor league ball players who actually saw the combat. Lou Brissy, I think he was still in the minor leagues when World War II broke out, and so it was a lot different for those guys. So he helped him out quite a bit as well. And then there were other ball players too. So he did face a lot of the same things that Jackie Robinson did. In that time he was playing, he had a 288 lifetime batting average in the majors, 340 lifetime batting average in his 5 years with the Newark Eagles. In 1946, Larry Doby's team won the Negro League World Series, and he was also an All-Star as well in 1946. He was also a seven-time All-Star when he was in the American League. Uh, the 1954 American League RBI leader. He was also a two-time home run leader as well in 1952 and 1954. And in 1998, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee. I think it's pretty fitting that Ted Williams gave Larry Doby a call to tell him that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, he did pass away in 2003. He was born in 1923 and he passed away in 2003. And I think he had a long and successful life. And his cards are pretty cheap, pretty affordable compared to Jackie Robinson's. So when I first started collecting vintage sports cards, Jackie Robinson's cards were still affordable. I had a 1949 Bowman, a 1956 Topps, and a 1953 Topps. I still have the 53, and I sold the other two. I'm not a big fan of the 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson, but I wasn't totally unhappy when I sold it. I picked up a couple of pretty rare cards, but they don't equal the value of the 49 Bowman Jackie Robinson. Uh, you lose some, you win some here. You don't have a crystal ball all the time uh, to know that these things are going to happen. Jackie Robinson's cards today are pretty expensive. They're getting to be unaffordable for the average collector. One of the cards that I really want to add to my collection is a 1949 Bowman Larry Doby. I love that card. I think it's fantastic. I'm not ever going to say that it's never going to happen. I always tell collectors and remind myself that anything is possible with a little bit of luck, hard work, and the right being at the right time and the right place with the right price. I can remember when I was first starting out thinking, how on earth could anybody ever afford these vintage cards? And I look back 20 plus years later and I look over my collection sometimes and I'm like kind of astounded, really, that I have been able to complete a collection that I can be proud of. And it's really kind of the thrill of the hunt, the history behind the players, the cards, the game itself, and a lot of the sports, right? So sports kind of like brings everybody in together, and that's one of the beauties of it. And for that short period of time, you get to concentrate on great athleticism for the most part, and um, any of your worries or anything else, you can kind of forget about it for a while and just concentrate on being around people who you enjoy, your family or your friends or wife, girlfriend, whoever, and just enjoy a nice game, whether it be baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever the case may be. And that's one of the pleasures of watching sports. I don't watch sports. I collect sports cards and I collect, I guess, history, if you will, and through sports cards. And I do enjoy the thrill of the hunt because again, I never know what I'm going to see in my time as a collector. I've seen some amazing cards of amazing ball players, and I have a lot of great stories that I like to share with you guys. And this is just one of those stories. And with Larry Doby here, again, I say that he has been really overshadowed by Jackie Robinson. Both players really liked each other though, and they complimented each other quite often and kept in touch. Larry Doby was really outspoken about his time in baseball afterwards, and so there are some really interesting interviews that he did give just prior to his passing from cancer in 2003. Thank you so much for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it as always. Like and subscribe so these videos can go out to other people. And if you have any stories about Larry Doby, I'd love to hear what you have to say about him. And if you have any favorite cards of Larry Doby's, certainly let me know. Um, he's got a nice 1953 Bowman, which I really enjoy. I don't have that card. As I say, the only cards I have of him is a 1951 Bowman and a 1952 Bowman, which unfortunately I can't find it. It's somewhere. But guys, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you later. Bye.